Gundam AGE-1 Normal. Hey again, it's Robert184, 2Rs, 2Bs, gundam.tk. Gundam Age is about to kick off and the AGE-1 Normal is all built up, so it's time to take a look at the parts and see all the new techniques that Bandai is going to be putting into practice with this new line. When completed, you're going to have the legs, waist, arms, chest, and head to go along with 2 beam sabers, 2 beam daggers, the Dod's rifle shield, and an extra manipulator. The show's designed to bring in new fans, and if you are a new one, when I put these together I just use red and blue parts here to get rid of the discoloration, black and gray for the lining, good modeler's knife and a pair of nippers and tweezers to put on the stickers. So unless you want to go pro, which you totally could make this look a lot better, this is certainly more than enough. Starting at the bottom, let me just tell you right off the hop that I was pretty impressed with some of the things that I saw on the insides when you're building up these parts. To start at the top, for the hip, you're going to be able to move this poly cap, which means that you'll be able to do the splits. It spins all the way around. You've got some nice gray parts when you build it all up in there. Just 2 white parts here, 2 white parts here, and then you put a third one on the front with this black sticker, which sort of adds a little bit of color, even though it is black, yes. But over here, you're going to have 2 bending points, which is just fantastic for a high-grade figure that you're going to get a 180. And when you get down to the ankle, it's also impressive, though a little bit worrying. You're going to have this special piece here, and you'll notice that the armor just fell off there. But you've got a poly cap there, and then this gray part, you can actually rotate it around, and it's on a ball joint there at the bottom. So you're going to be able to get all sorts of mobility points here. And the only worrying thing for me is just the way this ankle armor sticks on. You've got to get the right one on the right leg, so left and right. Be careful when you're reading the manual. But a few times I've just had this thing loosen up and fall right off. So it's something to be careful of, but when you see what it can do, that is impressive for a kit this size. To the waist section, where you can just see there that there's a ball joint under there, this gray part, and another ball joint on top there before you attach the chest on, so you should get lots of mobility there for the torso. But it's pretty impressive the way you put everything together. These white flaps here, if you can see underneath, these yellow parts are what hold everything together. You just put the white parts on, but the fact you've got no seam lines there looks great. White piece there, red piece there for a little bit of color. These parts here are just on a pin poly cap, which are going to sit off to the side. You put the beam sabers in there, they fit. This one fell out on me a couple times, so you'll just want to be careful that you actually push it all the way down. But it's on the inside of the armor that's the most impressive. I made a mistake earlier on saying that this is going to move similar to the 00 kits, but it is also going to move similar to the high-grade Future Century Nobel Gundam, and able to move the hips up and down as well. This gray part also pops off and reveals a hole, so you can attach an action base to that. But in terms of mobility, colors, and just the simplicity of it, I like the way they put in these little tick marks all over the place. This seems like it's going to offer tons of possibilities. To the incomplete chest, where you'll just put in that gray part there for the waist. But starting at the back, you're going to have this big gray piece, which is actually fairly long and offers all of the depth of the kit so far. You're going to stick that on, and then when you actually cover it up here with the race car spoilers, you're actually going to get 3 different colors of gray. So I think that's great that they're providing this kind of differentiation in color while only using 2 parts. It makes it look like 4. You've got a thruster down here, which is going to move around. You've got some gray showing there. The shoulders are also somewhat interesting because you've got the ability to bring them this way and this way, but they're actually mounted on a poly cap in there, and they can go up and down. Again, very impressive for a kit this size. You've got a double ball joint here for the neck, and then when you go down below, you're going to put in this yellow piece here, and I just wanted to show this off that it's got a pretty flat surface there, and then you're just going to stick on this seal, and the way that you seal this up is very simply to put on this white piece, which is going to provide most of the focal point in terms of the color on the Gundam, so that you do get the white, blue, yellow, and red all put in there. The green sort of gets lost a little bit depending on the light because it's going to cover up most of the shadow, but I have to say that it looks pretty good. I look forward to seeing what they do with that with the bigger sizes, and especially the light up in the 1/48th scale. To the arms, which have a little bit more gray than I expected, mostly just from the fact that you've got it up there in the shoulders that could be white on a different Gundam. But you've got a poly cap there, and this part is going to spin around, and the shoulders are going to move. But it's the elbow that's the impressive part, because again, like the knees, you've got a bend there, and then you've got a bend there, so you're almost going to get a 180, which is very impressive again. This little part just protrudes down there. You can just put in a little bit of lining there. And then you've got this forehand part, which basically you can put it on this way to expose this hole to put in the shield or other accessories, I suppose, and you can put it this way. If you put it on this way, it's just going to not fit at all. The manipulators are sort of very simple for the gripping ones, but they've got this nice lining points here. Just put a little bit of line, you've got that circular part. So overall, the mobility and the looks of these arms, even though they look a little bit old school, I'd say, they've just got enough new sensibility to differentiate them from something old school like the RX-78 too. You do get the third hand here, and you can just see that in comparison to the grasping ones. The forearm guards are on differently, but it's actually done very well. You've got good differentiation there between the fingers. It's spread out in a cool pose. This is something that I think you're actually going to use just because it offers a lot more variety. And if you've got the beam rifle in the right hand, why not have the left hand looking somewhat more interesting than just, hey, I've got an open fist here. To the weapons, which I thought was a little bit underwhelming, the fact that they were advertising, yes, this can have 3 different forms, and well, this one I have to say looks pretty good. You've got the sight here on the side, and then you've got this part here on the back. So for its first change, yes, you can just have that. That is apparently a weapon, I suppose it is. But what you can also do is twist this up and plug it in. You'll notice that there's little pegs there to keep everything in place. When you do that, you get the sight up on the top, and then you're able to bring out this bar here so that you can put the left hand across. And I think the fact that you're going to get those 2 variations, I'm not going to count the third, is actually better than I expected. To the Jedi weapons, where you're going to have the beam daggers here, you'll notice that they fit very well into hand. You don't need any pegs or anything, but they do seem to stay, which is somewhat impressive. You're going to get the 2 beam sabers, and again, you've got the 4 beams. They've got a wide side and a thin side. And in terms of size, here they are compared to the rifle. The shield is really simple, and again, I love it when Bandai uses just putting holes in parts and layering them so that you can use only 2 pieces to give you the effect that you actually have 4 different colored pieces in there. On the back, you're also going to get some gray, which is a big step up on older high grades where you'd often just have a big, ugly white thing there, which you could either spray with some gray paint or go at it with a lining marker to cover it up. No real articulation except for the fact that you've got this small point here that's going to pivot around, and this actually works a lot better than I expected. You can plug it in here to the forearm, and I've got it on the back V style, and when you do that, you'll notice that you've got the gray, white, and blue all showing forward, which is impressive, but you can also take this part of the forearm off, as mentioned, pop it back on, and then once you've done that, plug that in here. And again, because it's on this spinner here, you can actually get this shield into all sorts of positions. You don't have to fiddle around with getting a handle into the manipulator. Everything works. You've got colors on both sides. So despite the fact that I was a little bit, I didn't think very much of it just because of its simple design at the beginning, especially when you consider some of the cool shields Gundams have had in the past. But it's a good start and very well put together for something so simple in construction. I always say that it's the head of an SD Gundam that makes or breaks it, and I think that that's definitely less true with high grades, just because of the fact that it's only about a centimeter tall. It means that if it's not perfect, well, it's not the end of the world. But I think when you've got a pretty impressive chest like this, the head of this one really adds to its overall effect, and I'll tell you why. First of all, for me, going back to XCI, I used to put in either some nice clear purple parts for the master grades, or just use some lining with the old 1/100ths or high grade. Here you've actually got a U-shaped gray piece which you're going to plug in, and it provides the raised eyes that you're going to put the sticker on. So you put in the red part, you put the white part on there. I chose to line that. Maybe you could put some color on the other side, and actually maybe lining on the front wasn't the best way to go. But they do leave channels that are deep enough here to get a black lining marker in there, those little tick marks. But it's up here at the top where I put on the sticker with a little bit of paint that I think most people, I'm not sure how it came out here, so you can tell me your opinion of that. But I am happy to have some green in there, although I wish I had done it a little better. I had some old Mr. Hobby color, and this is just yellow-green kicking around, and I used the high-tech tool of a toothpick, and basically I just put some paint on there. At the beginning I thought it worked out pretty well because just by putting it in here, you'll notice that this paint, well, most paints are going to run, and so it immediately filled in that channel, but then I started to overdo it perhaps, and I was actually taking the toothpick and spreading the paint around there and then getting the excess off. You'll notice that it also extends up there to the top, but the sticker just goes on over it. So overall, I don't know how I feel about that, but anyway, it's done and the green looks good. And again, something I look forward to seeing topped with the master grade and the mega size model. So far, just from the build itself, it's $1,200, which may seem a little bit expensive for 3 plates, but when you see the actual mechanical design that went into this, I have to say I'm very impressed. Starting with the double elbows, the way the shoulders move around, the forearm swap guard, the shield having the colors all over the place, the beam rifle having 2 useful positions, the hips with no seams, the way the beam sabers fit in there, the chest, the sticker, the white on the yellow with the vents in there, double knees and the ankles. Not too crazy about that, but so far I've seen a lot of new things, and the reason why I'm talking a lot about this is because, again, when you've got a new line kicking off, Bandai will pull out all the stops, and if they're going to keep up the high-grade Age line with this kind of quality, I'm going to be quite excited to be buying, especially if the anime keeps up. Anyway, everybody, I will stop there, but hey, parts are good, the build was great, but what about the mobile suit? Stay tuned for the next part, and you can take a look, so let me know what you think with a comment down below. Anyway, everybody, Robert184 Gundam.tk, thanks for watching. See ya. I still remember when my show launched and I was a big deal. I wonder where you'll be in a few years.